Hello, this is the second of 3 videos that I have produced to help you with the assignment. This particular one is about syntactic trees and how to draw syntactic trees. Here are a few points to remember. A syntactic tree represents the internal hierarchical composition of a phrase or a sentence. Okay. What we do is we identify the immediate constituents of a phrase and then link these immediate constituents to this phrase, to this node. In this sense, the ability to recognize a phrase's immediate constituents is essential. When we draw a tree diagram of a phrase, what we effectively do is unpack this phrase to its immediate constituents. Now let's draw the tree diagram of the noun phrase "a very small school" in Strom. Our first task is, of course, to identify the immediate constituents of this noun phrase. Okay. We know that one of them is a determiner. Then we have an adjective phrase. Then we have the head of the noun phrase school. And then we also have another adjective phrase which is in strong, which means that this particular noun phrase involves 4 immediate constituents: a determiner, an adjective phrase, a noun, a head noun, an N, and a preposition phrase. And in practical terms, what we do is we start with the top node, which is an NP, which is what we are analyzing. Okay, and we link it to its 4 immediate constituents, which are determiner, standing for A, the adjective phrase, standing for very small, the head noun, representing school, and the PP representing in strong. Our next task is to unpack, so to speak, each of the 2 remaining phrasal constituents, the AP and the PP. Okay. And the AP consists of 2 elements, the adverb very and the adjective small, while the preposition phrase consists of 2 immediate constituents, the preposition in and the noun phrase strong. This means that each of these branches into 2 arrows, each linked to the corresponding immediate constituents. Our next step is to do the same with the lower NP, strong. In this case, it only involves the head of the phrase, strong. So it means a single immediate constituent, which is an M. And this almost completes our syntactic tree. The only thing that is left is to provide the actual words of the noun phrase and link them to the respective lexical categories. So starting from the top down, we get here, then we provide the actual words, and then we link each of the words to its corresponding lexical category. So the A is linked to determiner, very to adverb, which is also an adverb phrase, technically speaking. Small is linked to A, adjective, school to N, noun, in, P, preposition, and strong to N. And this is a complete syntactic tree of the noun phrase a very small school is strong. Now let's try to do the same with another NP with a slightly more complex noun phrase. The news about the recent publication of my paper. We need to approach the task in essentially the same way. In the first place, we need to identify the immediate constituents of this noun phrase. The determiner obviously is one of them, and the head of the phrase, the noun news, is another immediate constituent. And then we have one or more preposition phrases. We have two prepositions, we have two preposition phrases, but the question is the issue here is to determine whether this is a whole constituent or two separate constituents. And again, we'll have to consider the reference of my paper, preposition phrase my paper. What does it refer to? Does it refer to publication, or does it refer to news or something else? And the obvious answer is that it tells us something about publication, or it's linked to publication, which means that my paper is embedded within the noun phrase the recent publication of my paper, which is a component of the preposition phrase about the recent publication of my paper, which means that this preposition phrase headed by about is a single constituent extending to and including paper, which means that this particular noun phrase involves three immediate constituents: the determiner, the head noun, and a preposition phrase complement. This is what we do again. We start with the top note and we link it to its three immediate constituents: the determiner, the head n, and the PP. As before, our next step is to unpack the preposition phrase complement. Okay, and we proceed in essentially the same way. We identify the immediate constituents of this preposition phrase. It includes the preposition P and the noun phrase, the recent publication of my paper. So this noun phrase is a single unit. We can actually replace it with it, about it, and which proves that it is a complete noun phrase. Okay, so it branches into two components: about the recent publication of my paper. This lower NP is our next target. We need to analyze it in terms of immediate constituents. Okay, so we have the determiner. Recent is an adjective, but also an adjective phrase. We have the head noun, publication, and we have the preposition phrase of my paper, which means that this particular node branches into four branches. Okay, determiner, adjective phrase, recent, head noun, publication, and preposition phrase of my paper. Okay. We have two more phrasal constituents to analyze, the AP and the PP. The AP is recent, consisting just of the head of the adjective phrase, recent, and the PP consists of a preposition and noun phrase of my paper. So this branches into one arrow, a single immediate constituent. This branches into two arrows, one for the P and one for the NP, my paper. And this is what it will look like once we analyze this lower level. And so the AP branches into A, which is recent, and the PP branches into a P of, and the noun phrase my paper. Our next step is to provide the constituents of the lower NP, which are a determiner, my, and the head of the phrase, the noun paper, and then provide the actual words of the whole noun phrase. And this is what it will look like. Now you're looking at the complete syntactic tree of the noun phrase, the news about the recent publication of my paper. And this concludes the second video. This concludes our presentation on syntactic trees. Thank you.